served a little over 24 years in the United States Navy. I retired as a senior chief in the fall of 2017. And I tell you, my military service, well, it was awesome. I had a great time with it. Wouldn't have done 24 years if it wasn't one of the best things in my life. I got to travel the world, see and do things from a very young age that people just don't get a chance to do. So I started off my career in the Navy in aviation electronics. I worked on if anybody's seen the movie Top Gun, I worked on the F-14 Tomcat for quite some time. Absolutely enjoyed it. Went overseas for 3.5 years, got to work on a lot of helicopters and different types of planes and do different things. And then came time to come back home. I went into the recruiting realms and they decided they liked me and I converted to do that permanently. And I spent the latter part of my career traveling all across the United States, stationed in places like Columbus, Ohio, Dallas, Texas, Portland, Oregon, spent a lot of time down in Florida, talking to young men and women about the advantages of joining the military, and really just fell in love with that and fell in love with, leading people and working with people. So came time to retire and I retired. I'm back home here in Indiana, continuing to work with veterans each and every day. When I retired from the Navy, I went into what I'm going to say a quote unquote normal job. I was an executive director for a moving company, so a few different locations. So it was a very operational heavy type job. It was awesome. It was a family owned company and I had a really good time with it. But during that time, as many of us do in the military, we always look fondly back on our service and we remember that brotherhood and that sisterhood and we want to stay attached to it. So I went into business with a friend of mine and a partner of mine, and the outset of our business, which was Force Multiplier Ventures, was to help veterans. It was to help veterans find great employment, link them up with great companies. We also did some leadership training because a lot of what we do in the military translates over into the civilian community. So being able to go into Fortune 500 companies and teach them about how to lead and manage people, and then secondary to that, we helped a lot of companies build veteran hiring programs, teaching them what it means to hire veterans, teaching them what it means to have a true veteran hiring program, dispelling a lot of myths that are out there about veterans. And that was my first venture as an entrepreneur. It was exciting. It was fun. It continues to be exciting and fun. And I've done it in a couple avenues now. But it has its challenges. Being an entrepreneur is not easy. From the standpoint, you look at it financially and you go, well, how am I going to make ends meet this week? But I think it is something that veterans are built to do. We are built for a challenge. We're built, throw something in front of us and we're going to figure out how to knock it down, run over it, run around it. Doesn't matter. We figure it out. And so for veterans, I think the entrepreneur route is a phenomenal route. You get out there and display your skill sets and do the things that you love to do. And trust me, there are plenty of companies that want to do business with veteran owned companies. There are plenty of companies out there that would love nothing more to have, a business that they hire that is owned by veterans. And that's one of the biggest things that I found. There are a ton of people out there that want to hire veterans, that want to hire veteran owned companies. And that super encouraging. But yeah, being an entrepreneur is a really good time. And again, I think it's something that us veterans are built to do. So Force Multiplier, really, it kind of came to, and this is another great thing about entrepreneurship. You can take it any direction that you want to take it. And so really, when me and my business partner looked at a couple different things, he wanted to continue in the realms of the veteran hiring process, and I was really getting a foothold with the leadership training. So we kind of broke the company apart. He kept Force Multiplier, and I started True Heading Consulting. And with True Heading, that's where I continued on a lot of my leadership programs, and I really found a focus with veteran nonprofits. Nonprofits, those out there doing great work for veterans, but they don't have a whole lot of money. So I found a really good spot there to where I could go in and teach these leadership courses and make it advantageous for the veteran nonprofit as well. And their people get great leadership training and management training. I did some one-on-one mentoring and coaching as well with their leaders. And that was a lot of fun. And I continue to do that to this day. True Heading Consulting continues to be an organization. I continue to work with veteran nonprofits to help them advance their mission, mentor their young leaders within there, and really, and deliver teamwork and leadership training to them. I also now, as of 9 months ago, I think at this point in time, LER Tech Force found me, and they wanted me to build them a veteran hiring process, and so they hired me on, and I worked with them. And I've built out their Skill Bridge program. We've built out a very robust veteran hiring program, been very, very successful with it. So I guess, I'm going to say all this to say I retired, but I currently own a company and I currently work for another company. So I don't know that I'm much retired, but it is, and I'll say this probably numerous times during this interview, it is so fulfilling to be able to work with veterans. It's so fulfilling to be able to help them advance where they're at. When you take a veteran's resume and you turn it into something that gets them that job, there's nothing more fulfilling than that. Or you speak to a veteran and they're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know which direction to go when I'm leaving the service. And you get to be that career counselor. You get to be, for me, that senior chief that's helping that young sailor out and guide them down the right path. So that it's a ton of fun. But I definitely stay busy for sure. It's just so many misunderstandings that are out there. And I could give you a great story about that because I was at this, it was a construction company. So they're very blue collar people, and they're probably about a $200 million company. I mean, they're huge, and I sat in a room with their vice president and a lot of their managers. And I got questions from the C-suite level of, does every veteran leave the military with PTSD? How severe is their PTSD? Do we need to give them certain days off a year? Are there things we can't talk about when, they're around? For me, it's hard not to laugh because it is such a myth that everybody leaves and everybody's got to have a safe space and things like that. So talking through some of those things with people and making them realize that every veteran that leaves the military isn't broken. They put labels on us or put labels, of this, that, and the other thing. But just because somebody has PTSD doesn't mean that they're not a great performer, a great human, and is going to make a significant impact at your company. You've got to look past those myths and those misnomers and things along that line. So that one was a head shaker for me. But those things exist. People get their opinions about veterans from a lot of different things. I got questions about, is every veteran's leadership style like dictatorship where they're just knife handing people, and I'm like, no. I have been through more leadership training than probably all of you combined. I've gone through the Naval War College. I graduated the Senior Enlisted Academy. I've gone through Myers-Briggs personality test. I've gone through many different coaching programs and leadership programs. We are developed as well-rounded leaders. We're developed as coaches and mentors. We're just not finger pointers. So, turn off the TV, go shake a couple veterans, hands, and you're going to realize how dynamic they are, how dynamic of a leader they are, because they've had to be this dynamic leader in some of the worst cases imaginable. They're out there deployed in some god awful place, and they're the ones that have to keep up the morale of the people around them. So they're the ones that are the motivators and things like that. They're the ones that are those coaches, so no, it isn't a point and shoot type thing. So that's one of the biggest challenges for a veteran in general, but and a veteran business owner and entrepreneur, is getting past those myths, getting past those misnomers, people's opinions about what veterans are. And if you can get your foot in the door and you can stand in front of them, they see pretty quickly that a lot of these things that they had in their head are very untrue.